Hi, thank you for joining me for today's process video, and today I'm working with Vicki Boutin's Discover and Create to document a photo of me and my family in New York. We had just walked over Brooklyn Bridge and it was New Year's Eve last year. So I've pulled out all of the papers that are sort of bluey teal toned and the neutrals, and I'm just cutting 1/2-inch strips from all of those papers. A lot of them are from the 6x8 paper pad, but some of them are full 12x12 papers that I've already cut into. This is a fantastic design for using up your scraps. So you can see there I didn't make you watch all of that cutting, because I'm literally just trimming 1/2-inch strips from the papers that I pulled out. So now I've got those strips, I'm going to start positioning them across the layout and sticking them to one another. I don't want to stick them to the background yet because I want to make sure that I'm happy with the placement before I do that. So again, I'm just pulling one strip at a time and I'll start shortly gluing them to one another. I just noticed that this one, for whatever reason, I cut it at 3/4 inch. So I'm just pulling out my little trimmer to trim that down so that it's back to 1/2 inch again. Now these are, I say 1/2 inch, some are just slightly over and some are slightly under, but that's roughly the size of a branding strip. So this would be a brilliant design if you've got lots of branding strips or if you've got lots of scraps that you want to use. I chose this design because of all these skyscrapers that you can see over on Manhattan in the background behind us, and these colours copy the colour in the East River, and then you can see some of the blues of the lights behind us. So that was the reason for choosing this colour palette. And as soon as I saw the photo, I knew I wanted to use Discover and Create because it's these colours that I really love in this palette, in this collection, sorry. So just as you can see, gluing each strip onto the previous one, some on top of and some underneath. And I'm trying to vary the colours that I'm putting and the heights of the papers. Some of them I keep at the full 8 inches and some of them I trim down slightly. So just messing around and adding things as I go. And you can see I decided to bring this tealy colour to the left. And then I've got that beautiful blue, true blue, that I'm just gluing the next strip down onto. So trying to pull out varying colours, varying lengths. This was a full 12-inch piece, so you can see I just trimmed the bottom off that to add that on there. And you can see that I have got some of the pieces of paper from the 6x8 paper pad, the branding strips. If I thought that it was going to go behind the photo, I knew that it would work just fine as a strip here. So I'll flick through to the end because you don't need to see me continuing to glue these strips on, because at the end I do change slightly. I've more or less run out of strips now. I think I've just got one left, but I still want to add a couple more. So I do just pull out the little offcuts that I've got here and piece them together, and I really like the look of that on the layout. Just brings another little bit of interest in. So just adding those there, and I didn't want to glue this down because, like I say, I wanted to check that I was happy with the positioning, and also I was considering adding some mixed media to the background, so I didn't want to glue it down until I was sure I knew what I was doing. You can just see ever so slightly on the right hand side there are some of my Shimmers paints and Lindy's Magicals that I pulled out in corresponding tones, and they're the ones that I'm just thinking about adding to the background, but I'm not quite sure yet. So just adding another strip to this left hand side here now, and then I can start adding the photo. So the photo I'm going to mat onto some white cardstock, just so that it provides a tiny border around the edge when it's in amongst all these strips, and then just gluing the whole piece to the background. I decide that I'll add the mixed media on afterwards, so just getting that glued down, making sure that it's central, and then trimming off the excess card from this photo. And the photo is just going to go flat onto the layout as well. So I find this washi tape piece, and it's got the gorgeous blue behind it, and it just says, well, hello there. So I'm thinking of using that for my title, so I just lay it over the bottom of the photo there, and then realise I need to glue the photo down. So just pull that up and glue that down. And you can see it covers the hole in that branding strip that I've used, that blue one that's just behind Amelia's head. And now I wanted to bring in some word strips. So first of all, going to the 6x12 sticker sheet, and this pencil says Captured Memory. So I think that works really nicely. And then there's this piece that says days like this. And I'll keep going through pulling out other appropriate words. This had been an incredibly long day. We walked the length of Manhattan from our hotel, which was right up by Central Park, through the financial district. We'd been to the 9/11. We didn't go into the museum, but we just went to see where the towers were previously, and then through the financial district and over Brooklyn Bridge. So we were pretty tired by the end of it, but it was an absolutely wonderful day. We just stopped for food and drinks when we wanted to and just took everything in, and it really wasn't too busy down in South Manhattan, so it was a nice day to explore. But we were pretty shattered by the time this photo was taken, and in fact we were going to take a water taxi back over to Manhattan, but in the end decided to just get the underground straight back to our hotel, and we were relieved that we did that actually once we got to the underground station. So just continuing to add these word strips. So I've got things like, all things are difficult before they're easy, it's happening now, the good and the bad, I can't believe this happened, days like this, and so on and so forth. So a lot of those were from those the sticker book there, that sheet with all the word phrases. And then I decided I just want to build up the two ends a little bit more, the left side and the right side. So I'm grabbing some more of those branding strips from the 6x8 paper pad and just building up the strips on either end. They were already pieced strips anyway, so just adding these couple more strips on either side works really nicely. I just felt that the layout was tapering off a little bit too much at either end, and I wanted to keep that height going right the way through. So this is just a little dotty black and white piece, and on the other side it was just a script piece, and I've just made sure that the pieces go the same way on both end so that it's not obvious that it's, or not as obvious that it's been pieced on. And that's that done. So now I'm coming in with my mixed media. I've pulled out Oaky Bear Blue inklings. I just thought this was a really nice match to the water, and I just wanted to copy the movement on the water really by bringing in some shimmering watercolours and just adding some strips and some splatters above and below some of these paper strips. I felt that the paint was going on a little bit too dark at the beginning, so I just added another spray of water to water it down a bit more. And then I'm just using a very fine brush, and because I haven't glued the entire mat down, all the edges down, you've got that lovely shadow from the edges that stand up above the card, and it also gives me the opportunity to pull them up to add the watercolour underneath, so that I'm not just colouring the edges of the paper as well. Obviously some of this gets on the paper, but I'm not too fussed about that. I just really like the movement that it's giving after you've got those sharp vertical lines of the papers, because I've not distressed those at all, I've just left them as sharp lines. So almost there now with the Oaky Bear Blue, and once I've got the blue down I want to bring in some gold because of all those gold twinkling lights over at Manhattan. So I've pulled out Good as Gold inklings, another inklings, and I'm going to add that as well. I just wanted the blue to dry down a little bit so that I don't end up with green which can often be a problem when adding gold to blue because it's a yellow tone. So I do a lot of fiddling and faffing, just filling in little bits and pieces with that blue paint, making sure that I've got it everywhere I want it to be, and just not being too precise. I think sometimes when you're doing something like this, it's much better if it's just a little bit messy and there are a few layers as well of the paint. So in with the gold now. Just giving it a good stir to get some of that pigment up, and I start by splattering, but then I will go in and add some actual colour to the background as well. So here we go. Not too much of this gold, nowhere near as much as the blue, but just wanted to bring it in a little bit. Like I say, just as a nod to those lights behind us. So more splatters, more squiggles, and then I do add some straight vertical lines as well, just imagining those lights going up to the sky. Here we go. So here are some of those lines that I'm adding, and some at the bottom as well, almost as if they're reflections on the water, I suppose. So coming back with a tiny little bit more blue, and then I decide that the photo is a little bit plain, so I'm going to add something to that as well. So I'm coming in with the foam stickers, and I just find this gorgeous bulldog clip or it's like a clipboard clip, isn't it, with the gold accent. So I'm going to add that to the right of the photo there, and then bring in some wax twine just to thread down the right hand side of that photo. And again, it's bringing in a different texture and more of those vertical lines, so I really like that. And then the last thing to do once that's in place is bring in the alphabet thickers, and I'm going to use the numbers to spell out 2024. This was, as I say, New Year's Eve. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening probably, so we were ready to go back to our hotel and see the new year in there. We were right next to Times Square, so we were fortunate enough to get loads of the ticker tape coming down on us when we left the hotel for the countdown to midnight. And that's the layout done. I really hope you've enjoyed this process. There'll be plenty more of our foray to New York coming in the future. I hope I don't bore you too much with that, and I shall see you again very soon. Thanks again. Bye.